What is a period?
बता
One myth about period that you say people would stop believing.
that there's toxic blood that needs to come out of the body.
Is it a bad thing that people believe, you shouldn't go to the temple?
We are born from that. If that is impure, our very birth is impure and the creation is impure.
Maybe you should fit this one out.
Don't make it that obvious.
There's an increasing talk about period syncing.
Even science has been working on this concept for a long time.
Is it normal to have period cramps?
So mild cramps are normal to have.
How often are we supposed to change pads? So, in this episode, we're talking about something that half the world experiences but is often whispered about: periods. If you're a teen trying to figure out what's normal, or a working woman juggling cramps with deadlines, this episode is for you. And joining me today is someone who needs no introduction in the world of women's health: Dr. Latika Chawla, a renowned gynecologist and an expert in women's health. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Callista, for having me here. I think we are discussing a very important topic today. It may seem very basic, but I feel like there's a lot that everyone needs to know about it. So I'm glad that we're discussing this today.
Yes, sure. There are so many discussions that happen on social media nowadays, and we need to find out what's normal, what is not. The information spread online. Is it correct? Is it incorrect? There are many self-diagnosis that's been done. That's why we're having this conversation. And to get to the basics, I would like to ask you, what is a period?
So the period is actually a physical manifestation of a cycle that goes on in our body, a hormonal cycle, which is an essential part of the reproductive cycle of a woman. We have two hormones released from the ovary. One is estrogen, one is progesterone, and these work together in a cyclical manner to increase the lining inside the uterus and then shed this lining, leading to periods. So a period cycle essentially is a marker of good reproductive health.
One myth about period that you say people would stop believing.
That there's toxic blood that needs to come out of the body.
As you spoke about toxic blood, is it a bad thing that people believe, you shouldn't go to the temples, or you shouldn't go to the kitchen? What is that myth about?
I tell you, a lot has changed. We've evolved as humans, we've evolved as individuals, and I think certain concepts need to evolve. In very, very, yesteryears, women were asked not to go to temples or not to enter the kitchen, just as a way, that they would get the rest they need during periods. There is nothing wrong or nothing, abnormal about getting periods. In fact, not getting periods is a problem.
It's abnormal.
And periods is a more natural thing to happen. It actually reflects that, you're healthy, and that is a sign of health for a woman. So I don't see any need for us not to be, able to go to the temple or to go to the kitchen. I mean, we are now in space, so we can definitely go to
the kitchen.
Definitely go to the kitchen, yes.
Okay. So we'd like to talk on how many days can a period last to is considered normal.
See, so usually anywhere between 2 to 7 days is considered as a normal period. Like I said, each body is different. So some women may experience a shorter period, some may experience a longer period. But any change in your cycle that has happened in you, if you've started with a 3-day cycle and now your periods suddenly in the last few months are 7 days or 8 days, then that should ring a bell. Also, if you were having a 5-day period cycle for years and now suddenly it is a 2-day cycle, that should also ring a bell. So there is a certain standard that differs for each woman. But of course, anything more than 7 days, if you're soaking more than 3 to 4 pads in a day, getting very heavy cycles, large clots, very severe pain, those are the things that you definitely need to get checked.
There's an increasing talk about period syncing among women, working together, or among teens.
Yeah.
So is there some science to it, or is it just a coincidence?
So, even science has been working on this concept for a long time now, and period syncing does happen, and it is, we have been trying to understand since the last few decades as to why it happens. Some of the theories that surround it is basically that women release pheromones, which get released out of the body through sweat, and it is these chemicals that work on our brain and ovary axis and sort of bring our cycles together. Some believe that they are environmental factors, but till date we don't have anything really scientific to say that this truly happens. So, it's one of those things that I would say still people are a little, confused about.
Right. Is it normal to have period cramps?
So, mild cramps are normal to have, right? Because our uterus is undergoing a certain situation where the lining is shedding, and a bit of uterine cramping does happen in that, situation. But of course, if the uterine cramping is very severe, and causing for you to having to take medications, or missing work, or missing school, or requiring, more than maybe just a basic painkiller, then that is something that definitely needs to be looked into.
Best natural remedy for cramps?
I think a simple heating pad at home.
If I have PCOS, okay, or if I'm struggling with endometriosis, as you said, is it still like normal to have regular periods?
Yes, PCOS doesn't mean that all your periods will be abnormal, okay? As the name suggests, PCOS is polycystic ovarian syndrome. What syndrome means is that it is a collection of multiple things happening, one of which may be a delayed or an absent period. But in many women with milder forms of PCOS, you will see that the period cycles are regular, but they may not be ovulating in each period cycle, and they may be reeling with other issues in the symptom complex, such as having acne or having facial hair, having weight issues, all of that put together.
Is it true that PCOS can be reversed with weight loss, or is that an oversimplified narrative?
The PCOS cannot be reversed with weight loss, it can be controlled with weight loss.
Why do you think that, there are period cramps exceeding a certain limit?
Well, there are a lot of conditions that may cause more pain during periods. Even simple, more commoner conditions, I would say, like polycystic ovarian syndrome may cause period cramping. Endometriosis, where the lining inside the uterus grows outside of the uterus, that kind of a situation also can cause severe period cramping. Sometimes the pelvis is inflamed because of certain infections, or there is congestion in the blood supply that comes to the pelvis. In those conditions also you will experience more than regular period cramping.
Your go-to period comfort food would be?
A nice warm bowl of soup.
Continuing to this, are chocolates a good food to go to during your periods?
So, dark chocolate has certain elements in it that help with mood and that can even be anti-inflammatory. So, having a, sort of bite of dark chocolate during your periods will definitely make you feel slightly better.
I think all women out there should
Yes,
take a piece of
try.
dark chocolate.
You should try.
We have seen many cases where young children, like at the age of 8 or 9, are getting the periods early. Or is it the societal pressure, or is it the lifestyle?
So a mix of a lot of things. When we were studying, the age of getting periods was possibly 11, 12, 13, and now we see 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds get period. So the entire genetic shift is happening. There is a huge genetic component to this, of course, and of course the epigenetic component that I discussed with you earlier. So it is, our environment does play a very big role in this. But having said that, a lot of lifestyle issues that are causing weight gain to happen in the younger age group, a lot of accessibility to food in terms of maybe doing a Zomato or a Swiggy and eating at odd hours and different kinds of food, these are causing changes in our hormones. And instead of our hormones peaking a little later on in life and puberty hitting a little later on in life, we are getting periods early. The fat cells in our body also produce estrogen. So when the weight gain happens at a younger age in life, the estrogen levels also increase, and that sort of pushes you into an earlier puberty.
Do you think that getting periods early is also a genetic sign? Like if my mother has got her periods very young, early in age, does the offspring, the daughter herself, gets it early in age? Is it related?
Yes. So in fact, a lot is related to your genes and a lot is familial. So early periods, late menopause, estrogen dominance, as we call it, in the sense that there are certain women that are more sensitive to estrogen and estrogen related problems such as fibroids, PCOD, endometriosis. All of these have also, now we know more and more, are related to your genetics.
How much does stress affect your menstrual health?
So stress is actually a significant causative factor for almost everything related to general as well as menstrual health. Stress causes a lot of hormonal imbalances. It can cause weight gain, it can disturb sleep, it can push you into early metabolic issues such as diabetes, and all of these put together can also push you into things like, and also increase the risk of developing more severe health problems.
There are a lot of physical activities to subside the pain, or to not get into these problems related to menstrual health. So what do you suggest people should look out for?
Yeah, so definitely, because like I said, that your lifestyle does affect your hormones, and when lifestyle affect hormones and hormones affect diseases, obviously maintaining a healthier lifestyle, exercise, eating well, all of these will impact PCOD, endometriosis, and all these conditions. The most important factor I would say to you actually is to diagnose them properly. PCOS is become, almost secondary to any missed period, any irregular cycle, any weight gain, but that's not how it is. There are proper strict criteria which are used to diagnose PCOS. There are different kinds and different, like a mild, moderate, and severe forms of PCOS. So all of these need to be diagnosed correctly because the treatment modalities may differ. Okay, so one is important is that. But yes, lifestyle changes, I think, forms the baseline of maintaining your hormones in control, and add as a very huge supplementary factor even when you're actively treating very severe forms of PCOD or endometriosis.
So do you say that women out there who are more active are less prone to such factors?
So there is a lot of data that suggests that the better your metabolic rate, more the activity, you can keep your PCOS in control. You cannot kill it, it will not go away, but you can keep it in control. In situations such as endometriosis as well, we now know that because of the chronic pain, there are a lot of muscle spasms that happen in the pelvis that also lead to exaggeration of pain. So gentle stretching exercises, maintaining a better lifestyle, all of these things can even reduce the intensity of pain that you're experiencing. So exercise overall releases good hormones, and it has a very positive impact on both PCOD and endometriosis.
Talking about the painkillers, as you said, it's different for different women out there. But do you think that it affects in the long term?
Definitely. I mean, taking painkillers for 1 or 2 days, in a very minimal dosage is not a problem. But if you are requiring to take, sometimes 3 or 4 painkillers in a day, and you have periods that are lasting for 5, 7, 10 days, then we are looking at, long-term side effects of painkillers as well, because most of the painkillers that we take do have an effect on the kidney as well as the liver, which is why it is not safe to take painkillers for that long a period of time without really understanding the core cause.
Is it okay to use pills to delay your periods, say for an event or an important meeting that you're going for?
So once in a while, I would say that it's all right, but it shouldn't be used as a norm, because anything that you're putting in your body, especially the pills that we use to delay periods, are very high amount of hormones, and they do tend to disrupt your regular menstrual cycle. So once in a while it is all right, but it shouldn't be used as something very routinely.
Are emergency contraceptives being misused?
Oh, absolutely. I think a lot of patients I see in my clinic, where they're actually using emergency contraceptives as routine contraceptives. And that is actually very, very alarming, because, there are a lot of myths about oral contraceptive pills. People think that they have a lot of side effects and there are a lot of hormones. But if you consider the I-pill or the emergency contraceptive pill, it actually has 10 times the hormone a small regular oral contraceptive pill would have. So there is so much long-term data that tells us now that oral contraceptive pills in the correct dosage are extremely safe to take for years altogether. In fact, they are even protective against some of the cancers. But the emergency contraceptive pills, if taken very frequently, particularly when patients take it twice or thrice in one menstrual cycle, they can completely disrupt your hormones, which is why it is not at all advisable to take them routinely.
How often are we supposed to change pads?
So, ideally, whether you're bleeding heavily or not, I would say every 4 to 6 hours you must change a pad. Because, of course, keeping pads and wet pads can lead to a lot of soreness, rashes, and secondary infections. So it's always advisable to change them 4 to 6 hours.
And there are a list of options when it comes to the right product for you. Which one do you consider? Is it the menstrual cups that we have these days, or is it the tampon, or is it the pads? Which one is the right product?
So there's no right product, to be honest with you. We call it the cafeteria approach. There are different kinds of coffee, and you may pick up whatever you think
Fits you well
and fits your bill. So similar thing is with the sanitary products. Menstrual cups are in vogue these days because, of course, they reduce the the menstrual cups are now in vogue because they reduce the biological waste and they are reusable, compared to, of course, tampons or pads that need to be used each month and then discarded. But yes, as far as menstrual cup hygiene is concerned, it's always important to make sure that you disinfect the menstrual cup before using each time and after using it each time. And it is advised to sterilize it in boiling water for about 15 to 20 minutes and then using the cup. As far as tampons and pads are concerned, you must always dispose them off in a very sanitary manner. Now all of us have wet bins and dry bins, and we need to make sure that we are segregating our waste correctly.
It is important to sterilize menstrual cups, and I think the young women out there prefer menstrual cups more often than a menstrual pad. So do you think that there are a lot of infections when menstrual cups are considered?
Yes, it does increase the risk of infection if we are not sterilizing it correctly. So I think that's the most important part, that the cup needs to be sterilized well before and after use. You must keep it separately in a separate container as well, and make sure that you're also cleaning and sterilizing the containers on a timely basis so that you don't land up with infections.
There's one more thing. Can you swim or exercise during your period?
Yes, absolutely. Exercise, should be in sync with what your body tells you. Don't overdo it because your body is undergoing a process during that time. So be calm, be, gentle towards your body. But yes, you can exercise. With swimming, the more important thing is to maintain good hygiene. Usually, women would either use tampons or menstrual cups when they're swimming to, of course, make sure that we maintain hygiene. And if you are using tampons and cups, they should be removed after your swim is done and sterilized. I mean, the menstrual cup needs to be sterilized and then reworn. And the tampon should be discarded and you should wear a new one.
Before we end this, what's one thing you would want every teen or woman to know about or remember about her period?
So I think the one thing I would want to say is be proud of your periods. You know, it's the sign that your body is functioning well. It's a sign that, you know, you are healthy, and there is nothing to feel ashamed about your periods. You should carry it with pride. You should call them periods and not call them chums and menstrual cycle and, you know, use all of these terminologies, because there's nothing to be ashamed about it.
Yeah, that's something you say. We are covering about periods. So
Yeah,
we
you
use
don't
another
need
term.
to. You don't need to cover your periods. Carry them with pride.
Thank you so much, Dr. Latika, for bursting out so many myths around menstrual health. We really like the educational conversation given across to us, and I think our listeners out there will know more about it, learn from it, and I think the takeaway message is no women out there should be shying around period.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.